go back to 1989, which is when you actually started your project, your
Yeah.
passion, which was how do you take Priya and make it a modern cinema-going experience for the Indian consumer.
Yeah.
Same time as the iconic Amir Khan movie Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, which was set to capture the imagination of the Indian moviegoer.
Yeah.
You know, was Papa Kehte Hain the anthem playing in your head at that point in time?
Well, Papa kehte to the in my case as well, but I was really never thinking of the Indian consumer or the macro economics of the business or the vast potential. Simply speaking, I just want to prove to my father that I'm not a failure.
We're starting at a new financial year. You know, is there a silver lining that you can spot?
Sid Field is one of the writers I read a lot. So he used to always say, in every story in life, or there's Act 1, Act 2 and Act 3.
Where
Act
are we
1
today?
Act 1 is a setup. Act 2 is a conflict. And Act 3 is a resolution. My Act 2 has become very long.
Do you believe that there are likely to be regulatory headwinds?
Regulation should not happen at all. It is not part of an essential commodity act. We don't come into that. So every time there is something that we hear from any state government, that's the only thing that saves us.
Music has been and performing has been a dream for you. But in an era and in a society where we're so bound by log kya kahenge, and there's a whole genre of Hindi movies dedicated to that, to say that you're going to do this publicly.
I just was very keen that I don't take the one-dimensional view of life, because we are all businessmen, we're running listed companies. This is our job, and if your job is something that stresses you, then you need to find other avenues to de-stress you.
The three most important things to Ajay Bijli. Please share.
Hairline, bottom line, and waistline. And now being able to sing what's written on the stave is important.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Young Turks Reloaded podcast. My guest today inherited a single-screen cinema theatre from his father, but then had an epiphany when he was all of 23 and on his honeymoon in Orlando. That is when the idea of modernizing the cinema-going experience struck Ajay Bijli, and he decided to return and convince his father that that is what he intended to do with Priya. Cut to 2025. Today, PVR INOX is the largest chain of multiplexes in the country with 1,745 screens and over 350 cinemas and counting at this point in time. And the company has, of course, made several pivots along the way. To talk more about the PVR journey, the lessons in business and in life, is the man himself, Ajay Bijli. It's great to have you back on the Young Turks podcast. Wonderful to see you today.
Thank you, Shereen, for having me.
You know, I want to go back to 1989, which is when you actually started your project, your passion, which was how do you take Priya and make it a modern cinema-going experience for the Indian consumer. Same time as the iconic Amir Khan movie Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, which was set to capture the imagination of the Indian moviegoer. You know, was Papa Kehte Hain the anthem playing in your head at that point in time?
My God. So you know how to articulate a question, don't you? Wow. Well, Papa kehte to the in my case as well. But I was really never thinking of the Indian consumer or the macro economics of the business or the vast potential. Simply speaking, I just want to prove to my father that I'm not a failure. That I wanted to be somebody he was proud of. 88, I finished college, Hindu college in Delhi, and the transportation business was the mainstay of the family.
Which is your father's business?
My father's business. My grandfather started that in 1939, Bijli Pehlwan, and then Amritsar Transport Company. So it was very natural for me to go and join that business. But I struggled. I wasn't able to do a good job over there. But the second next thing that we had in the family was the cinema.
Which was courtesy an arbitration that your father had
helped
settle.
That's right. So that was his passion. He used to work in the day, and then in the evening, settle family disputes of various families in
Huh.
Delhi, and this is how one cinema came into the fold. So I said, if I can't do anything in the trucking business, let me try and do something to the cinema
Mm.
business. Somewhere I was very I think I had an affinity towards movies,
Yeah.
definitely.
Did you watch a lot
I used
then?
to watch a lot of movies over and over again.
Hmm.
A lot of Mr. Bachchan's movies used to get played.
Huh.
So Parvarish, Hera Fairy, Mr. Natwarlal. So I think somewhere there must have been some connection that I must have felt. And as to always be a little restless about the environment.
Hmm.
Is the screen okay or not? Why are the seats dirty?
Dark
Why
and
why is it
dingy.
dark? Why is dingy? Maybe something can be done to it. So when I got the
Hmm.
opportunity, I was inspired by a lot of cinemas in India. One was Chanakya, in
Yes.
Chanakyapuri, and then Sterling in Bombay,
Hmm.
Metro in Bombay. These were like iconic cinemas. Raj Mandir
Hmm.
in Jaipur. In fact, I was in Jaipur. My children went to see Raj Mandir
Huh.
just now. It's still very good cinema. And I said, oh, if they can do something like this, let me ask my father if I can do
Hmm.
something. And then I got married.
Hmm.
When I got married, then as you just mentioned, I saw a multiplex in Orlando.
While you were on your honeymoon.
While on my honeymoon. And I called up from there and I said, listen, Dad, when I come back, can I revamp the cinema now properly? This is what I want to do. But the building bylaws didn't permit a multiplex, only a single screen cinema you could renovate. So that's how it's happened. I
Hmm.
just made the walls a little more colorful,
Hmm.
put Dolby, where again my father played a very big role,
Yeah.
and just played only Hollywood films because there were 93 cinemas in Delhi at that time. And mostly everybody was playing
Hindi.
Hindi movies. Only Chanakya,
Hmm.
Archana used to play English movies. And there used to be a backlog of Hollywood movies.
Hmm.
And people used to feel that the movies come very late
Hmm.
from Hollywood. But that was not the reason why they came late. They came late because if a movie did well,
Hmm.
it ran for 10, 12, 14 weeks. So the next new movie could not be played. So I just spoke to the producers, like distributors like
Hmm.
Warner Brothers, MGM, Fox, Sony, that do you need another house? They used to call it a cinema
Yeah.
house in Delhi where I can play. And they were just very happy. He said, yeah, Delhi is a great market. Priya is in South Delhi,
Yeah.
where in any case the demographic is more
Urban
acclimatized
and
to
younger
urban.
and English
They'll
speaking. Yeah.
watch English movies. So I got my first film, which was Three Men and a Baby. I still remember.
How appropriate.
Okay. And that's it. That's where I started really enjoying the experience of creating an experience
Hmm.
rather than just a movie, watching movies. How to watch movies was more important to me than the movie
So,
itself.
so you were ahead of this whole business of creating an experience and getting into the experience economy, so to speak, like 30 years ago.
That's right. That's right.
But and to quote the iconic line from Top Gun, was there ever a moment, in that phase where you were creating this movie-going experience, where your father maybe told you that, son, you're writing checks that your body can't cash?
Every time he kept reminding me. Actually, he was in a way it was good because he made me cost conscious.
Hmm.
He made sure that I didn't spend that kind of capex, that there'll be no returns. The other impediment was the entertainment tax.
Hmm.
So entertainment tax was very high at that time. The decontrol of tickets hadn't happened. Still, you had a price cap of 14 rupees of balcony. So a lot of these factors were happening, which made me actually not spend too much money,
Hmm.
just spend money. Yet within these constraints, there were cinemas in Delhi like Chanakya, Archana, and Sheila who were doing very well because they were running at very high
Yeah.
occupancies. So I said, even if the ticket price is 14 rupees, and even if there are these government restrictions and entertainment tax was at 60%, but if the occupancies go up
Hmm.
to 70, 80%, you can still make a viable business. But honest to God, this is divine intervention that by the time Priya finished,
Hmm.
80% of the ticket prices were decontrolled.
Hmm.
And there's no lobbying, nothing I had to do. But at that time, the CM Sheila Dikshit was very forward looking. She herself realized, and the Association of Delhi, NAMPE it was called, National Association of Motion
Hmm.
Pictures Exhibitors, they also were lobbying that this decontrol should go.
Hmm.
Suddenly, the business became very profitable.
Hmm. Well, speaking about decontrol, and I'll get to that in a second because, are we coming a full circle on that from a regulatory
I should
point of
not give
view?
you any ideas for new questions, I'm
No,
thinking.
you should give me
I'm going to
many,
keep my
many
answers
more,
very short
many
now.
more ideas. But that period between
Yeah,
1990 and 1995 was a
yeah,
difficult period for many reasons.
yeah,
One, of
yeah,
course, you were getting started. Two, you lost your father in 1992.
yeah,
You had a fire as far as the transport business was concerned in
yeah.
1994. in that period, you also managed to get into the multiplex business by bringing Village Roadshow on board,
Yeah.
but they left in 2001. So,
Yeah.
that was a pretty sort of up and down kind of moment for you, a period where you
Yeah.
probably saw a fair degree of volatility. Did you think that you had the strength to continue?
Well, I think the biggest body blow is when your father passes away at an age of 25. I think nothing was more, you know, devastating for me than that, because the business of transportation was he was looking at. Somewhere his hand was on top of me, metaphorically speaking, that
Mm.
okay, even if this experiment doesn't work, I can always go back to my trucking business. So but him going away really put things in a complete different zone for me. And then I had to ride two boats, because somebody had to take care of the transport business as well, and also this new baby that I was very
Yeah.
excited about.
Yeah.
And this was Touchwood doing well.
Mm.
So that was a difficult period. And then when 94 the fire happened and we lost a lot of money. Luckily, nobody died in that fire, but we lost a lot of money. That's the time I was quite demoralized. And I said, no, now forget about Priya. Okay, I'll give it to a manager to run it. I need to take care of the trucking business. But every single day, going to the trucking company in Chandni Chowk
Mm.
was a bit of a chore. I just couldn't handle it. Then my mother, God bless her, and she's still there in the house. She said that you just don't look yourself when you're looking at when you're running the business. Don't worry, your uncle can run it, which is my
Mm.
mama ji.
Mm.
Whatever strategic direction you want to do, you do with him, but go back to cinemas. That's the time I was looking frantically for a partner
Yeah.
to create
Mm.
multiplexes, because single screens, with due respects to them, I just found them very difficult to fill them up 52 weeks in a year,
Mm.
because 1,000-seater cinemas, some movies do well, some movies don't do
Mm.
well. You don't get 52 blockbusters. Till date, you don't get 52 blockbusters globally. So I just found the model
Mm.
becoming a little outdated. So I was very keen that multiplexing is the way to go in a country where 1,600 films come through the system in a
Mm.
year. You can't have one single screen. And scale is something. Our,
Yeah.
our common friend Sunil,
Yes.
we used to bowl with him, Sunil Mittal, used to always say, whatever you want to do, scale should be there.
Yeah.
Never look at mom and pop.
Mm.
So that little restlessness came in me, that I can't be just a single screen cinema.
Mm.
So therefore, I was fortunate to find, I looked for, by the way, lots of partners. I went to America, went to England, but I found Village Roadshow in Australia,
Mm.
who found the Indian market with a very high potential. And they said, okay, fine, let's do a JV. So you're right, 90 to 95 was very, very tumultuous. But with this JV, I suddenly once again got excited that this is the way to go and this is what I want to do.
Well, let's cut to the future now and where we
Uh-huh.
are in 2025. And you're still recovering from what you have described as a body blow, which is, of course, the pandemic.
Yeah.
One, you underestimated the impact of the pandemic. Two, you perhaps hoped for a faster recovery and a
Yeah.
faster bounce back, which has been
Yeah.
relatively elusive.
Yeah.
As you look at the business today, we're starting at at a new financial year. Is there a silver lining that you can spot?
Well, uh, Sid Field is one of the writers I read a lot.
Mm.
He used to be a professor in USC. He used to teach film. So he used to always say, in every story in life, or there's act one, act two, and act three.
Where are
Act
we
one is
today?
act one is a setup.
Huh.
Act two is a conflict, and act three is a resolution. My act two has become very long because of the
No intermission or too many ads.
yeah, because of the pandemic. The protagonist's conflict is in act two, as in life. That's where you're finding your feet. Lots of things happen in life, and I did underestimate that act two will become so long. So I think father's passing away was the numero uno body blow. This was also a coup de grace, because cinemas were shut down.
Mm.
2 years you didn't have any business, and habits changed.
Yeah.
And both sides of the both engines that make our business work, the supply side and the demand side, there were changes. On the supply side, the content makers, India and globally,
Mm.
got distracted,
Yeah.
and shooting stopped. And also they said, okay, people are sitting at home, so maybe we should put our energies in creating TV shows and films for the OTT platforms, which was not happening pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic, we used to all see Game of Thrones, TV shows,
Yeah.
never short form films. So that happened, and they got distracted. A lot of money was spent. Even the streaming platforms did not have much shooting happening, so they also didn't mind, throwing a lot of money on
And getting these
content
films on
and
board.
getting
Yeah.
films on board and content on board. And on the supply, on the demand side, people got used to sitting
Yeah.
at home and consuming entertainment on their TV platforms, and which is the reason why both things got disrupted. So it's taken a long time. Now, what we're seeing after 5 years, I call it like 12 quarters or maybe more, or post pandemic, what we're seeing is that water is finding its level. The producers have realized that the economic rationale of releasing the movie on the big screen is incredible, because like you said, you saw a movie recently, Superboys of Malegaon.
Yeah.
Prior to that, 12th Fail came, a lot of smaller movies came, Munjia came, where you made it only for 10 crores, 5 crores, but it did 80, 90 crores box office. So the economic rationale, there is no cap to when a movie gets released theatrically. So the supply side, I'll start with them. They realize that if we make the movie, we can monetize it in the entire journey. So first window of monetization is theatrical.
Right.
Then comes OTT, satellite, all that sort of stuff. And if a movie does well, it clicks, then you can monetize it much better on all platforms, and then you can negotiate with everybody. The streaming platforms also realize now the world has opened up.
Yeah.
So you don't need to pay an arm and a leg to get content. Let the movie theatrically perform first,
And then bring it
and
back.
then bring it back. So that has happened. And of course, the consumers, the most important, they also realize that we need to get out. We've already been incarcerated at home for so long.
Yeah.
But there I'm finding a bit of a mixed bag. I know it's a CNBC channel, and
No, and
my
that's
stock.
and that's
Yeah.
what I want to address
Yeah,
with you.
I think what has happened. So there was a recent study
Yeah.
by something called Global Cinema Forum. I'm a member of that, where under 45s are coming. So there is no issue with under 45s. They're going to the malls, they're going to the food courts, they're consuming on QSRs. They're doing everything. They're seeing concerts, they're seeing cricket games, everything, and they want to come out and watch movies as well. But above 45s, they're taking their time. If the appeal of the movie is so compelling, then they'll come out. So
Why
that's
do you think that's the case? I mean, just don't want to make the effort because it's not a safety issue necessarily. I would imagine.
No, it's not a safety issue
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
It's just a habit. It's a habit. They want to, and I think they become a little more picky. They're very, very. They'll say, if I want to get out, it's a chore for me to make a plan with my family, this and that, whatever. Plus, there's a huge perception just now going on that the windows are short, and windows are not short. We worked our backsides off to make sure the windows are. Even the streaming platforms don't mind the windows. So what happened in the pandemic, the theatrical window from theatrical to
OTT.
streaming, in fact, collapsed, and then became 4 weeks, and then now it's 8 weeks.
Yeah.
But the perception, the study also mentions, not just in India, globally, people think that movies will come in 28 days or 30 days.
So why bother?
Why bother? So
Yeah.
one is habit, one is knowing that it will come, and third is it has to be a spectacle. It has to be an Oppenheimer. It has to be a Christopher Nolan movie, or for India, a massive Shah Rukh or a where a lot of money has been spent, then I'll come out. If it's a movie which has not got those kind of,
it's not compelling
it's
enough
not
to break
compelling
the
enough,
traffic and to actually spend the kind of money that you need to spend to watch a movie.
Which I will argue is not much too much.
I'll come to that. I'll come to
very subtly you brought that in.
I'll come to the
You
average
slipped that
ticket
in.
price in just a second. But on the consuming habits changing, and what this potentially now means as far as occupancy is concerned, it's been stagnant at around this 25%, 25.7% for the last quarter is the occupancy levels. What do you do now to drive footfalls? Because the experience is in your control. The content is not. You can't do anything about the content.
So like I said, Act 3 is not over. I'm still as sanguine and optimistic about the business. So when I go and look deep into what happened 2021, 22, 23, 24, 24, 25, which is going on just now, the number of movies, first of all, got reduced. Only 85 Hollywood films got released, as opposed to 174 movies. This year, again, the number is going above 150 because that screenwriter strike and all that happened. So if the movies become 175 or 174, that means you've got more content.
Yeah.
The chances of hits and misses will always remain.
Sure.
But because,
Hopefully more
yeah,
hits.
so our businesses in India, this is the only market I'm comfortable with, is a volume driven business. Volume in consumption and volume in supply.
Huh.
So therefore, if one or two movies don't do well, doesn't bother me, because you'll always have a sleeper hit that makes up for a movie with high expectation, that gets compensated. So I think because the movie flow coming in, it'll be more appealing even to the consumer. Even in India, a lot of movies got bunched up in 23 and 24 because shootings had stopped. So Shah Rukh Khan, 3 movies got released
Yeah.
in 1 year, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
Amir Khan, no movie has still got released post-pandemic. Ranveer one, Ritik only one. All these guys, also, to be honest with you, and I'm obviously, that's my supply side, were also a little figuring out what does the consumer want. I think now getting their they've got their act together. A lot of work got done on the script, and as I say, it has to be on the page before it goes on the stage.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm quoting these
No, please
movie
quote away.
movie
More
oriented
dialogues. We are in a movie theater.
So I think a lot of time is getting put on what's on the page, and I feel that this 25, 26 onwards, these occupancy levels that we're talking about are bound to improve, because the supply side.
But hope
is
can't
looking,
be a strategy, right? So
hope is not a strategy.
yeah.
So what we are doing is a couple of things. I'm saying, okay, if we reach the 31% level, excellent. If we don't, let's align all our costs and our strategies to 25, 26%.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So therefore, one is that FOCO model,
Yes.
where I've already spent 5,200 crores on this circuit by inorganic and organic.
Yeah.
So we are only doing what hotels have done all their lives.
Yes.
Okay. Get, basically monetize the brand.
Yeah.
And have
So somebody
a lot
else
of people,
sets up the infrastructure, you run it for them.
correct.
To put it simply.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I must confess that I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of chief executives of Trent, various other Titan, hotel, like Puneet Chatwal. I've exchanged a lot of notes. Nobody in the exhibition business has done this globally. First time in India, this has been done.
And first time worldwide.
Worldwide,
Okay.
yeah. So we're very fortunate, and some of the developers, I mean, have been incredible. People like DLF, I don't mind mentioning them. I'm a big fan. They've also realized that this is the model to go. Cinema is a necessity for their shopping centers. They will invest some money, and we will manage it. And in smaller towns, tier 3, tier 2, also we've had this response. Like, people feel very proud to be part of a hotel.
Right.
People own a hotel,
Yeah.
or a Tanishq,
Yeah.
or a Titan, or a Zudio,
Yeah.
or whatever. Similarly, they have this pride that, oh, PVR is mine, or an INOX is mine, and they spend the money. We've had to spend more money on our SOPs, brand,
Sure.
and what we bring to the table. So that's one thing that we've done to make sure our ROCE improves.
Yeah.
If we can do more and more screens, around 100 screens got signed last year. This year also about 100 odd screens.
So who are these developers who are coming on board for the 100 screens that you've already got in play, and the additional that you are looking at?
Mix of people who are organized and unorganized. One are just one off, two off, in Jaipur, Udaipurs of the world, Nandeds, Ujjains, Indore, Kota, these kind of Ajmer, these kind of places, and then big ones who definitely need a cinema, and then they are also, so a mixed bag, but we've got a tremendous response.
So
on
what
this
does
as
it
well.
mean in terms of additional revenue? Because on the back of the management fee that you're going to be able to get in from this.
So initial fee, technical fee, and then management fee. That is one. That's one model that we're doing. And then line by line costs we're looking at, and also all the new deals that we're doing are all on revenue share. That will make sure that the volatility taken care of. So the minimum guarantee are paid, but their minimum guarantee is not very high rentals. And also when the business is good, then they share the spoils with us, because we give them a revenue share. So that's one model. Other is line by line, zero based, costing of every single, whether it's manpower, marketing, electricity. We're looking at a lot of solar to help us bring the cost down. So we're saying that if we, even at 25%, if we can get those margins that we were getting pre-COVID, we are okay. But if we do go back to the occupancies we were getting pre-COVID, then fantastic. That's all gravy. Other than that, the 3 Fs that I spoke about, I'm saying that we already have an infrastructure. We have 15 million square feet, in India. which is, by the way, I think the largest for any retailer.
Yeah.
I think so. I've been
Yeah.
told. Why can't we use those spaces
Yeah.
for alternative, kind of entertainment?
Mm.
So that's the fun part.
Yes.
Some by repurposing the cinemas, some without repurposing. So if we're showing IPL, we don't need
Mm.
to repurpose.
Mm.
If we show Taylor Swift's Eras tour, we didn't have to repurpose. BTS, we didn't need to repurpose. A comedy, stand-up comedy, whatever, all those
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
things. We did something called Candlelight
Mm.
show. Those are without any repurposing.
Right.
There's one more strategy that we're doing. We're doing about 4 pilots just now. One in Bangalore, Gurgaon, Bombay, everywhere, where we're repurposing certain cinemas, creating green rooms, having bleachers where your seats can combining 200-300 seater cinemas into one
Okay.
seat, this thing, and doing gaming.
Okay.
Going and by the way, everybody's not Ed Sheeran and Coldplay
Huh.
or Diljit Dosanjh.
Yes.
You have so many artists who are happy with 1,000 seating capacity getting filled
Yeah.
up. So I'm, as you know, fond of music as
Yes,
well.
we know.
So I'm in touch with
Huh.
a lot of artists, a lot of managers. There's so
So
many
you're
artists.
getting into the kind of Book My Show, Zomato district kind of space?
Only providing the infrastructure.
Right.
So I don't want to do something that I can't. There are experts who are doing it, whether it's district or whether it is.
So do you tie up
Ashish.
with them?
We tie. They can sell our tickets, and so that's the fun part. Where can we repurpose our cinemas? Some amazing things are happening on some of the projects which are basically still under fit out. We can have pickleball. We can have so bowling centers, small bowling centers, gaming centers. So youngsters are coming out anyway. We are also looking at in Bangalore and Gurgaon to get some liquor license.
Okay.
Where we're sitting just now, we have a liquor license. Because kids do want to mingle. So one is passive socializing, which is watching a movie. One is active socializing, comparative socializing. Pickle is a pseudo sport, I call it.
Pseudo sport.
Definitely.
You'll have many angry pickleball fans
They
writing
are. I
to
mean,
you
because
now.
I played squash all my life. I know it's a pseudo sport, but
Pseudo sport.
but it is active socializing. Because people are playing and then they have a beer after that and all that sort of stuff. So I'm saying, why can't these things be brought into our
The
fold
fun
as well?
space.
The fun space. And food is what we've done with Devyani.
Yeah.
Food courts. Again, we have relationship with all developers. Zomato tie-up to be able to deliver at home. Some of our branded, things like which are non-benchmarkable. Hot dogs are non-benchmarkable. So we have a brand called Dog Father, which we are taking out
Dog
of cinemas.
Father. Very original.
Where does
Very
that come from?
original. Very original.
So these are the things that we do.
So are you going to be doing more like that? I mean, private label stuff as far as the food business is concerned.
Getting out of, so not having everything post-ticketed, have something pre-ticketed, because it's one lesson that pandemic has taught us. It's all binary. Shutters down, all revenue is gone. Whether it's cinema, whether it's tickets, whether it's F&B, whether it's advertising. So I said, God forbid, we must have a strategy where even if shutters are down,
outside of the theater.
So it's early days.
You didn't mention the sleeper hit of 2024.
Which Sri 2?
No, the popcorn wars. Well, the hero being caramelized popcorn. I thought you would bring that up. How's that doing for you?
The popcorn wars.
Well, the GST on popcorn was of course the big hit of 2024.
Yeah, there was some complication, and finally I think it got settled.
Yes.
That I think it needs to be at 5% only.
Yeah.
And you can't differentiate between caramelized and all that. I think
there is a differentiation between caramelized and the rest
but
of it.
not when it comes to GST. Luckily that got sorted. That did give us palpitations for some time. It got sorted out.
But on the fun side, I want to talk to you about how the IPL is doing, because we're in IPL season at this point in time, and what's the expectation as you look at many of these pieces that you just took us through on the fun side? What do you believe this engine, this vertical could be in the next few years for you?
It can be, these are early days, but as I said, I first have to look at the infrastructure that I've already got. I've already got 15 million square feet.
So you're sweating your assets,
I first need to sweat this before I say, okay, let's take over a stadium. That's another real estate. But if we can do it without any capex involved, then I think it's something that PVR definitely should be looking at. Nothing should stop us from going out and also having artists and And because it's the same consumer,
Yeah.
we, even in this time, we'll get 150 million people
Mm.
to our cinemas, and they're
Mm.
all youngsters. There's the same
So
guys
you're
who
actively looking at that
we're looking at
possibility?
that. We may do it ourselves, or we may tie up with an expert, but definitely that's an area that should not out of home entertainment, not
Mm.
in home.
Mm.
In home, I think there's too much crowd just
Mm.
now. The number of OTT platforms which are there,
Mm.
deep pocketed players, Apple, Amazon,
Yeah.
Netflix, all the studios have got their own streaming service, Geo. I don't want to get into that.
Mm.
But out of home entertainment, I think we understand, because that's all we've been doing all our
Mm.
lives. There, if there's an opportunity to do something on the music side as well, concert side, I think we should be looking at.
But how far are you into putting those plans into play?
Well, conversations have started.
Hmm.
Conversations have started. We're
In
evaluating
India or global
in
conversations as well?
like India.
Okay.
To look at bringing the. I just like to be in the Indian market.
No, I
uh,
mean
uh,
conversations with
yeah, with
Indian players,
yeah,
or also with global players to bring global
yes,
artists into
artists
India.
inside. Yeah, we still need to look at the economics, because I think the infrastructure still needs to improve.
Hmm.
You still need to have studios like O2. You need to have studios. I'm saying stadiums,
Huh.
which can have a 52-week programming,
Yeah.
not sporadic programming.
Yeah.
So sporadic programming is like cinemas again.
Hmm.
You've got this infrastructure, and only one Ed Sheeran will come or Coldplay will come.
Yeah.
Then what do you do the rest of the years?
Yeah.
But I've seen, at least whatever little studies I've done, that 52-week programming is done throughout.
Hmm.
So therefore, you don't have to keep rebuilding the infrastructure only when one big event happens.
Hmm.
So I think we need to examine it. But that is something that I think will come pretty naturally to us.
Hmm.
So, but as I said, I don't want to again go ahead and invest capex in something new.
Yeah.
First, I have to look at my core.
Hmm.
How do I get my core even at 25, 26% to get the same margins
Right.
that we were getting earlier?
So what about the food aspiration now? You talked about what you're doing with Devyani in setting up these food courts.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, what can we expect as far as the build out is concerned of these food courts, and what else you're likely to do in the food space?
One is really these food courts which are adjacent to our cinemas, and Devyani's got their own brands, and not all the outlets get filled up by their brands, so we can get new brands as well. The other is taking our own brands out,
Mm.
coming out with some brands, as I said, which are non-benchmarkable.
Mm. Dog father being one of
yeah,
them. What are the others?
Yeah, like burgers are very crowded spaces, pizzas are very crowded spaces, but there are some more stuff which I will talk about later, which are not.
Give us a bite.
I'm
Give us
giving
a
you
bite.
my entire.
Give us a bite of what we should expect.
I can
A
serve you a bite
sampler.
after the. So many things.
No,
are
but
there.
the restaurant business. I
No,
mean,
not restaurant.
no,
Restaurant.
that's not something
Yeah,
that
this
you
is
want
like
to.
a one-off where we are,
Mm.
because the space. But you never know. I mean, touchwood, this is doing well. It's a combination of music and fine dining. But I think more QSR, more adjacencies to our core business. Like for example, with the 350 properties that we've got,
Yeah.
we have 350 box offices which are not being used.
Mm.
Because people are buying online,
Mm.
and hardly anybody's buying from the box office.
Right.
Now those are sitting ducks to be converted into a QSR.
Mm.
Space utilization
Huh.
also we are looking at. If some spaces can be carved out, open up the foyers,
Mm.
make them non-ticketed.
Mm.
So ticket checking only happens at the gate, at the
Right.
auditorium
Right.
entrance. So these kind of experiments.
Mm.
As I said, I must get my core sorted out.
Mm.
These are all pilots which any company should
Yeah.
always be doing.
So
Some will work, some will not work.
So let's talk about the core, which continues to be film at this point in time. And, many experiments underway there as well, whether it's passports or it's
Yeah.
ad-free films and so on and so forth. I mean, what are you now seeing as far as the core business is concerned? And what could we expect in terms of fresh innovations from you?
Well, you see, first of all, I must tell you that our ETP, we've just declared our results, which
Average
is average
ticket
ticket
price,
price,
yes.
is still 281.
This is like the ARPU conversation of
ARPU.
telecom, which has been stuck at 200 rupees, much to the the dismay of Bharti and Jio, but it's pretty much the similar sort of thing
So
for
we are
you.
at 281. But people take the perception of coming to a director's cut or a Juhu or a Koramangala and then extrapolate that as our.
Because that's
Yeah.
1200.
No,
or
on the weekend.
yeah.
For a big movie,
Hmm.
it can go as high as 1200. But you cannot extrapolate that to be our average ticket price. Having said that, the consumer is sensitive. Some consumers are sensitive. Some consumers are not sensitive. They're more sensitive to experience,
Hmm.
what movie it is, F&B,
Hmm.
hospitality. So for that, we have 20% of our circuit is premium. Okay, whether it's recliners, whether director's cut,
Yeah.
Lux,
Yeah.
Insignia, but 80% is price sensitive.
Hmm.
So for that, we've got. So I still feel that we have to be aspirational and affordable.
Hmm.
If you just be affordable, then we've seen what's happened to a lot of cinemas where they've not invested at all in the infrastructure.
Right.
So some aspirational, I always think all over the country we need to be. So Passport was one such experiment that Monday to Thursday is an off-peak period
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
and senior citizens, students who go to schools, colleges, a lot of people, they can get an opportunity
Hmm.
to come and see cinemas, movies of their choice on an off-peak period. So that's what Passport was done.
Hmm.
It was very successful. So like that dynamic pricing, weekday, weekend is
Hmm.
something that we keep playing around with. But we also don't want to leave too much money at the table when a very big movie comes
Yeah.
and people have the discretionary income and the desire
Hmm.
to watch a movie,
Hmm.
because even these movies are not made cheap.
Right.
So you need to get a
Yeah.
return on
Yeah.
that. So I think pricing is an important tool,
Hmm.
but these experiments we continue to do,
Hmm.
and they're doing very well. So if that's
Yeah, no,
answers your.
that does answer, but some part of my question. But on again, one of the ancillary revenue streams that you are looking at, and that is
Yeah,
advertising.
yeah.
Again, what do you foresee as far as that side is concerned? And
Yeah.
do you believe that there are likely to be regulatory headwinds there?
I think we are regulation should not happen at all, because ultimately
But
we are
that's
not
again
an.
something you can't control.
Well, the only way I can control it is that it is not part of an Essential Commodity Act. We
Hmm.
don't come into that. So
Hmm.
every time there is something that we hear from any state government, that's the only thing that saves us.
Hmm.
We're not an essential commodity. We are like any other leisure activity where people can come or
Hmm.
not come,
Hmm.
depending upon whether they are attracted to us or
Hmm.
not, offering and the price.
Hmm.
So therefore, like airlines, hotels, hospitality, any product, any service is allowed to market itself or price itself. So I think that's the bracket. It's just that the hangover of in 1990 only,
Hmm.
the industry got
Yeah.
decontrolled.
Yeah.
The people still remember how much an orange bar was, how much a popcorn was, how much a samosa was,
Huh.
how much a ticket was. So we still haven't gone into. It's only been what 35 years or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So it's still very much in people's memory. That's why we suffer once in a while where suddenly some regulation comes.
Hmm.
Having said that,
How
now.
worried are you about the possibility of a price caps
Yeah.
coming back into force? You just talked about an era of control and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
decontrol, and you
yeah,
believe that we're still not past the mindset of an era of control. How concerned are you today about
yeah. I mean,
price caps? I mean,
yeah,
the Karnataka government did bring that
yeah, yeah. And luckily,
in.
they haven't gone through with it, because they also realize that this is not something. If you're giving an offering at different price points, so we've got cinemas in Karnataka which are at 100 rupees as well,
Mm,
and then we've got like maybe 10 screens which are charging 1,000, because our objective was to get everybody out
mm,
of their cinemas, even of their homes, and watch movies on the big screen. It's a very heterogeneous market,
mm,
people with different tastes and preferences. But coming back to your question, how I am, I get concerned
mm,
when suddenly we get targeted
mm,
as somewhere there should be a control,
mm,
because we should not be having any control. It's a free economy and free
mm.
market, and we should be allowed to price the way we
When
are.
a
And we
consumer
are not.
court when a consumer court says that you cannot put in ads that extend the period of time that a consumer has to sit and watch a film, and you've been fined for that as well.
Well,
So
we won the case,
yeah.
and luckily it's a sub judice, but we won in the High Court, and again it was something very arbitrary that was done, because you watch on OTT, you watch TV, ads are coming, and it's very much part of our business model
Hmm.
to have FNB. Cinema advertising, but it worries you. But we try to be careful. Like our advertising is not more than 8 minutes now
Hmm.
in most of the places, and it's also linked to movies. To be honest with you, if there's a movie which is going to do well, then advertising revenues increase. So, by the way, advertising has really bounced
Yeah.
back. Even in a linear, there are lots of advertisers who still feel that the like undistracted experience that their product and services get in a
Yeah,
cinema,
because it's a captive
yeah,
audience.
captive
Yeah.
audience. But for me, experience is very important. So we make sure that the runs are not very long,
Hmm.
and and that ad free thing that you
Hmm.
spoke about. There is a set of consumer who wants to watch it on time, and therefore they don't want, other than the statutory
Yeah.
ads
Yeah,
that
the
we of
public service
cigarette
stuff.
and
Yeah.
public
Yeah.
service and all, and some safety security that I'm
Hmm.
very concerned about, we
Hmm.
show. Other than that, we immediately show about 2 3 trailers, but that has compensated us by having an extra show,
Hmm.
and we're able to charge a premium for that. So it's like any other,
Hmm.
OTT platform. You get premium ad-free service, Spotify, anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's an experiment we did
Hmm.
in about, I think, 10 or 12 cinemas,
Hmm.
and that's worked out very well for us. The consumer feedback is very good.
So, we're at the start of a new financial year. How confident do you feel about scripting a turnaround for the movie business this year? And what does it mean in terms of, your debt levels as well? You've been able to cut debt by a little over 200 crores in the
Yeah.
previous year. What's the expectation on that front?
Well, because we're doing this FOCO model, and because we're doing an asset light model where the contribution from the developer comes, I think the accruals should be enough to reduce our debt levels. And the movie lineup this year is looking very good.
Hmm.
And so I'm very optimistic about 25, 26. We started with Sikandar, which didn't do well,
Huh.
but now we have a lot of Hollywood films like Mission Impossible is coming,
Hmm.
Avatar is coming,
Hmm.
and our circuit is very, very dependent on Hollywood. So Hollywood was the main reason why we had a not such a good year, 24, 25.
Hmm.
And 25, 26, all the movies are. F1 is a big one.
Hmm.
Apple, for the first time,
Hmm.
is releasing a movie on the big screen, which is again a great sign. Jurassic Park is coming. Amir's 2 films are coming. This big movie called Love and War of
Hmm.
Ranbir is coming. Raid 2, another movie of Akshay is coming. War 2 is coming.
Hmm.
So we've got a good lineup. And Kantara 2, after a long time, is coming, which I'm always looking forward to. Like a big
How often
South.
are you actually inside a movie theater watching?
I suddenly binge. Like I'm binging
How
these
many in a
days.
day?
No, in a week.
Okay.
I'll binge now. Like
Huh.
I started with the Diplomat, then I saw Conclave,
Huh.
then I want to see the Bob Dylan movie,
Huh.
Complete Unknown. I still haven't seen Brutalist. I want to see, and I want that's it. So these are the 4 5 films that I missed out on,
Hmm.
which I'm going to see. So that's what I do. I
But
have
as
like a mini film festival. Then I
for
quickly
yourself,
for myself.
a mini film festival for yourself.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting there watching as a consumer, but also as an exhibitor, and you see, movies that you had
Yeah.
great expectations from, and they're not living up to those expectations. I mean, as an exhibitor, how do you feel about, can someone take our feedback and actually and turn this around to doing better stuff?
Well, when I do talk to the producers,
Hmm.
and when they're disappointed with the movie, I see that they're already very disappointed because they're already introspecting and
Yeah.
figuring out what went wrong.
Hmm.
And I say, you know
So you
what,
don't want to add, don't want
let
to
me
add
leave
to it.
let me leave them alone
Huh.
because they also have put in a lot of effort. It's not easy. Don't forget, I made 7 movies as well. I see what all goes into making a movie. Nobody starts out to
Hmm.
make a bad film.
Hmm.
It's just that the content doesn't connect with the
Hmm.
consumer. But to answer your question, that when I see a movie with a high expectation
Hmm.
not doing well, now I get disappointed. But I also know right around the corner, because we're a volume-driven a country where supply is about
Yeah.
1,600 films.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be a movie right around the corner which is going to compensate. Case in point, recently Chava.
Hmm.
Honestly, we had targeted maybe 250 crores it will do, and X number of people will come to the cinemas. It's gone about 4 times that
Hmm.
number.
Hmm.
It's done about 600 crores.
That's one movie that surprised you.
Chava.
Which have been some of the others?
Stree 2 surprised me. Munjia surprised me. This Manjuman, Boys came
Hmm.
last year.
Hmm.
Malayalam film surprised me. Another movie that just recently got released surprised me over the weekend.
Hmm.
A Malayalam film. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name.
Huh.
It did very well. Mohanlal's
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
That did well. So like that, you have movies. Diplomat has surprised me, to
Hmm.
be honest. I know I keep going on and on about it. It was a small movie,
Huh.
but I really enjoyed it.
Huh.
So because if I was in another market,
Hmm.
and I'm in touch with 42 billion, by the way, was a global box office in 2019-20, which is the biggest year. It's only 30 billion now.
Hmm.
So it's come down dramatically. Most of the markets are very Hollywood dependent.
Hmm.
Hollywood dependent markets are really in a mess, because there is no local
Content.
industry which is also filling up the cinemas. So India doesn't sort of disappoint me that much,
Hmm.
because the local industry is so strong that they compensate for a movie that has not connected.
Mm.
I don't like to use the word flop,
Mm.
but if a movie hasn't done well,
Yeah.
another movie comes along. It hasn't happened that much, to be honest with you.
Mm.
That's why this period has become, Act 2 has become very long. But now, 25, 26, honestly, you can have a little phone conversation with me next year.
Huh.
It is looking good.
It's looking.
Looking from every angle, from all stakeholders,
Mm.
even from the stakeholders, content makers, consumers, even mall make why the mall guys are still allocating space for
Mm.
us. They can very easily say, okay, we're going to reduce the space,
Mm.
or we're not going to give you space.
Mm.
So they also still believe that cinema continues to remain an anchor, and the most important stakeholder is the consumer.
Mm.
He's to be honest, I'm a massive cricket fan.
Mm.
They are a bit tired. They definitely want to get out
Mm.
and watch movies and mingle
Mm.
and do something. They can't keep watching cricket all their
But
lives.
you're hoping that they'll come watch cricket here, at least watch the IPL here.
Only on the cities where the match is being
Matches
played.
being played.
So I've been talking to Gotham and I've said, let's not play everything.
Hmm.
So if a Delhi Daredevils game is playing, then we play Delhi in Bangalore, and that not everything everywhere. Although BCCI, Touchwood, I think, has allowed us for everything, which is great. But I'm saying let's play only those cities where there's a fan following of those teams.
Okay.
That I don't mind. It's okay.
You're speaking about Act 2 being a really long, prolonged Act 2. And you've given us a glimpse of what Act 3 could potentially bet on.
Yeah.
But as you map out, the next leg, the next phase of growth, of expansion, of pivots, give me a trailer of Act 3.
I think cinema companies, pure form cinema companies, will be okay. No, not at all. Please,
No.
it will be okay,
Mm.
but the cost structures have to be aligned according to the people. Will definitely go and watch movies. There's no question about it. But can you align your costs with the occupancy dip that has happened after pandemic? That's the critical thing. So if somebody was starting from zero base and he still wants to be the exhibition business, then he must be he align his costs accordingly, and just don't get carried away that India's only got 9,000 screens and China's got 40 or whatever, has got 30, 35, whatever. So I think cinemas will always be there. So I'm optimistic about that. But I think it's there's no harm not putting all your eggs in one basket and say that, okay, you have a brand, you have a consumer base of 150 million people coming. They're not just movie buffs, they like to do other things as well. There is no harm in creating some other out-of-home entertainment activities also for that consumer who's loyal to your brand.
So the diversification is more out of a need at this point in time, as opposed to something that you would have chosen to do.
Well, pre-pandemic, I never thought of doing that diversification because I thought there was enough happening. Even pre-pandemic, I used to think about out of home and how do I remember with Renuka and all the board members, we used to sit and say, oh, that's a lot of people coming. 160, 170 million people coming. Let's look at what else do they want. Can we do merchandising? Can we do some F&B? Can we do something else? There's so many little avenues, adjacencies, then you can come out with. I even spoke to McKinsey. What else can we do? So I was very keen to expand the brand.
How much did you pay McKinsey to tell you what else you can do?
Yeah, because sometimes sometimes it's a good idea to bounce off what else. The brand is strong.
So did they
people
come
are
up with
coming.
any of these ideas that you're
taking
forward?
Some of them were this, and even the popcorn vertical that we have, 47 BC, PVR, that was also something like that. So there were a lot of thoughts, and I think that's not a bad idea. I know Cineplex Group in Canada, they've got something called recreation room. They call it the rec room. I don't like the word rec. It can have different connotations.
With a W, it's an entirely different meaning.
Enough wrecking is happening in the world. So I thought that was a good idea, because the same consumer who's coming. This is actually part of diversification.
This is a rec room.
Yeah, because we are watching a movie, and I think 50% of our customers who watch movies come here before or after and watch and have a drink or listen to some music or something like that. So I think these kind of adjacencies cinema companies should do. There's no harm, and just that's a massive lesson from the pandemic that one should do.
Speaking of lessons from the pandemic, but lessons from the last 35 years as well, as you've built out PVR and scale. I want to come back to that issue, because a lot of the scale has been driven by way of M&A and acquisitions, and of course INOX was the big one. What would you say have been the non-negotiables as far as being able to assimilate and integrate
Yeah.
a large acquisition like that?
Yeah. I think non-negotiable right from the beginning was to stick to the fundamentals. And I was really privileged to have somebody like Renuka and Vishal Mahadevia, who's Wobber
Boba Pincus,
Pincus,
yeah.
and mentors like Sunil and Rajiv Singh and so many people. Fundamentals, unit level economics.
Mm.
So when I was doing organic growth as well,
Yeah.
location has to be right, the rent has to be right, developer has to be good, development has to be good. That was organic. Inorganic also, am I acquiring something which is going to be value accretive or value destructive? Is it an ego vanity acquisition, or is it something that is missing in the current portfolio and is going to add value? Number one question. If the answer is yes, after that, am I paying the right price for it? Fortunately, I had these incredible people who were always advising me, okay, for Satyam down south, this is the right price. And today, 33% of our circuit
Yeah,
is
people
south.
don't realize it that
Yeah,
actually the South is your biggest market.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And India is, and to be honest with you, that's been the saving grace post pandemic, because there, the movie habits haven't changed. So whatever I've told you in the first half of the interview probably is not applicable to South. South people are still coming and watching movies 12 times a year, and people are content. It's up by 95% recovery, in 99% recovery is there. So
So,
that
so
acquisition,
clearly that tells you then that it's the content piece, right?
content and habits, both engines. So habit and content. So even habitually people want to go out and watch. That's the number one form of entertainment. And also content supplies is very regular, and people find it connects with them. So coming back to the acquisitions, that was a very important thing. Regionally, I wasn't very strong in South. So Satyam acquisition did that. But I had to pay the right price. And the asset had to be qualitative. I shouldn't buy an asset where I have to spend so much money on seats, carpets, projection system, all that. Again, that becomes more expensive. Cinemax, we were very weak in West, was an important acquisition. DT,
Yeah.
with DLF, important acquisition. So these all three were, I think, we tried our best to make sure the fit was in terms of value as well as quality and strategy was okay. And we needed that leapfrogging because economies of scale were only coming if I had 900 screens, and all my costs on capex and opex became much better to give me the margins that I was enjoying
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic. Post-pandemic, and
Yeah.
it was not an acquisition, it was a merger, because both of us, the balance sheets were completely annihilated, and there was no choice but to sort of merge.
Merge. Yeah.
Only then we got that ability to survive. To be honest with you, I'd be as dramatic as that. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to survive. So again, the good sense prevailed. We had incredible advisors, and they said, if you
Who reached out to whom?
um, I think we both sort of we knew what was going on in each other's heads, and I don't remember whether he reached out or I reached out, but I remember, and there were the people. There were a lot of intermediaries like common board members or board members who felt that this should have been done. Nitin was CFO, was pretty instrumental at that time as well. And when we looked at, if you put the two and two together, the two halves together, it would make a complete. And there was a logical thing to do. And again, fit was good because Inox also was building very high quality circuit. And so, that's it. So it had to be done. But again, we didn't anticipate that
the bounce back would take as
bounce
long.
back would take that long. That's
As
the
long
only,
as it
yeah,
has.
yeah. This is the only thing I didn't anticipate will take so many quarters to bounce back. But the only saving grace is that there's explainable reasons of everything. So when I say, oh, what happened in 21, 22? Well, shootings had stopped. Okay, fine. What happened in 22, 23? There was a strike. What happened in 23, 24? So every year there's been a reason. Oh, windows were short. So every year, this year when I looked at, and I was in Karnataka, met a lot of producers, I'm in touch with, everybody is making movies. Very, very encouraged that the feast that happens, so there's feast and famine, they say. Feast is another level.
The famine is over and the feast.
Yeah. And the feast is like incredible. Biggest movies ever have happened post-pandemic. What explains that? The biggest movie pre-pandemic was Bahubali 2, 1,000 crores.
Yeah.
Post-pandemic, Pushpa 2 is 1,200. KGF 2 was 800. Shah Rukh's 2 movies were 600. third movie 350 or 400.
Mm.
Animal was 600. Stree 700.
Mm.
Chama 600.
Mm.
These numbers are unheard of.
Mm.
So this
So it's giving the
reality
100 crore club a completely different
completely,
meaning.
that club is now very low in the pecking order.
Huh.
So when the producers, whether you're an Indian producer, a Hindi producer, or a South producer, when you look at this number, say, wow, you can't get this ROI
Mm.
doing anything. And this can only come theatrically. Because if I had made the movie for 100 crores and I go to an OTT
Mm.
platform, they say, how much did you make the movie for? 100? Okay, let me give you 10%
Yeah.
and give me the
Yeah.
movie. But when they make a movie for 100 crores and they say it can do 500 crores, 600
600
crores,
crores. Yeah.
first of all, they take a lot of time on the drawing board, on the page, as I said.
Mm.
Once they've done that post production, all that, and they say, wow, this can't be. So this is a very encouraging sort of
Mm.
sign that now everybody's got their act together, and I believe while I'm erring on the side of caution in terms of my costs
Yeah.
and my strategy and my expansion plans, but I still believe that once we hit that number in India, as I said, India becomes
Yeah.
it'll be incredible.
Well, we look forward to hearing more from you about that. But, speaking about life coming a full circle, I want to talk about 1988, which is when you were in modus operandi, and cut to now with Random Order. And for those of you who don't know, Ajay is actually performing with his band Random Order, and performed at the CNBC TV 18 Global Leadership Summit in Mumbai. But Ajay, and I have to say, I think it takes immense amount of courage
Yeah.
to be able to not just live your dream, because music has been and performing has been a
Yeah.
dream for you, but in an era and a society where we're so bound by log kya kahenge, and there's a whole genre of Hindi movies dedicated to that, to say that you're going to do this publicly. I
Yeah.
mean, what was that moment like for you when you finally decided, to hell with it, I'm just going to do it?
I think pandemic. I just was very keen that I don't take the a one-dimensional view of life, because we are all businessmen, we're running listed companies. This is our job, and if your job is something that stresses you, then you need to find other avenues to de-stress you. So in the pecking order, of course, my family being with me was the most important de-stressor. And then I said, okay, what else can I do? And keeping fit
Hmm.
was important to me. I
The,
didn't
the
I
three
want to
most important things to Ajay Bijli. Please share.
hairline, bottom line, and waistline, and now being able to sing what's written on the stave is important. So I think I told Selena, I told my family that, listen, I've always been very passionate. Should I start again? So I said, why don't you do that? And there's only so many Zoom calls you could do.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
exhausting.
Yeah.
So then I found myself having a lot of time because no traffic, nothing, sitting at home. And I started taking some lessons. I didn't, me, I didn't want to get into it straight away.
Huh.
I got this lady from Berkeley School of Music.
Hmm.
That's the best in the world. And asked her to teach me how
Yeah.
to improve
Yeah.
my vocal skills. I got a Hindi teacher,
Hmm.
and who taught, because I love Hindi music
Yeah.
as well, and English. And I said, let me try both these techniques. And after about 6, 7, 8 months of training, I got the confidence to be able to sing properly, hit all the notes,
Huh.
whatever within my range. And then I said the next step is random order.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to do that romanticized what happened in Rock On, get my
Yeah.
old buddies back, because nobody was interested. He said, what? Drummer? I've stopped that ages ago. What guitar? I forget it.
And
Which
what's
world are
wrong
you
with
living in? What's
you?
wrong with you? Then I spoke to Gaurav of Medieval Pandits,
Yeah.
and he's a good friend.
Yes.
And he said, Ajay, don't go to these guys. That was a movie.
Huh.
Okay, go to these professionals and jam with them and see how, and be very frank with them. And if they think that just is like a ego vanity thing and you can't sing to save your life, then they'll tell you. But
Yeah.
if they think you can sing
Huh.
and jam and there's a music, and there'll be a band. So I was fortunate.
Huh.
There were some pluses and minuses, but finally I was able to form a band of some incredibly dedicated and good
Yeah,
boys.
but forming a band of incredibly talented musicians and playing in your drawing room is one thing. But to actually step out and do this publicly, I mean, that's an entirely different game.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate that I practiced and I got that confidence and I got the
Did you
encouragement
did you
from.
worry about how it would be perceived? Did would people think that, oh, is he retiring? Is he giving up on business? I mean,
Yeah.
did you
Well, I
worry
used to
about
look at
what?
the CNBC ticker of my stock price for sure, with every note. And then when I sang It's My Life, and it didn't go down, I said, maybe I can sing Bon Jovi's song.
No, but really, to have the courage and the audacity to say it is my life, and
Yeah.
it's not something that comes very easily, and certainly not something that comes very easily in the Indian business circuit.
Yeah.
To do that, I mean, what
Yeah.
what was the initial response?
Well, people were saying that, just don't get carried away. I
Huh,
mean, then initial response was, as long as it doesn't affect my business hours and people still take me seriously,
huh.
all
Did
stakeholders.
you worry about the fact that people may not take you
Yeah,
seriously?
I did actually. And I said it shouldn't eat into my work hours. And
Hmm.
then that's why that unearthly hour I have to get up at 5 every day
Huh.
to be able to sing and do my riyaz at 5 in the morning. And even because she's in LA,
Hmm.
my teacher, my
Hmm.
classes start at 6 in the morning. And so therefore I was trying to make sure my work doesn't suffer. If anything that suffers is my singing,
Huh.
because there's only one set of vocal cords
Yeah.
for talking and singing.
Yeah.
So if I have a very hectic work day, then my jams I have to cancel
Hmm.
because I can't sing. And that's why my vocal cords have gone for a complete toss just now, because it's been very hectic last 2-3 months. And I was devastated that I had to cancel one performance I had in Piano Man
Huh.
on the 15th of March. I practiced like mad for a
What was on
Brian
the
Adams.
playlist?
It was a Brian Adams sort of tribute, and I was singing, I was working and going and
Hmm.
whatever. But I think with practice, I guess, comes confidence, and that was my alter ego,
Huh.
and I got really encouraged by my teacher in LA,
Hmm.
and she said, "This is not Ajay Bijli, the MD of PVR INOX. You have to shed that image, and when you go there, if you look like a nervous wreck
Huh.
and not enjoying yourself and stressed, nobody's going to enjoy it.
Hmm.
Just go, and if you're not enjoying it, don't do it.
Yeah.
Then just sing some songs, in a
Yeah.
very close. But only if you're enjoying it,
Huh.
then people will enjoy. And so, can you please enjoy? So, and then
You're
you'll,
enjoying it.
yeah. And then I said, okay, if I'm doing this, is not this is my hobby. How can this be stressful?
Yeah.
If my hobby is stressful, then I better not. But I choose another hobby. So I try to make try to have fun with it, and so it was fun.
I'm curious, how did the kids react to it? How did your children react to this?
Actually, they were quite happy.
They didn't think this was a midlife crisis.
They thought it was cool. They thought it was not bad. Okay,
Huh.
dad is cool. So I was quite happy. They were very encouraging. Selena's been very encouraging,
Yeah.
and they see that we see you. This is the only respite we see you, because
Yeah.
I don't play golf. I don't play tennis.
Yeah.
I don't do all. So a lot of entrepreneurs we know.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, all of
Yes.
them. Koi yoga kar raha hai, koi tennis, golf, all that. They all
Yeah.
pursue different passions. Some people fly. Lots of things people
Hmm.
do. Polo.
Yes. Yes.
So I those sacrifice points I did, and I took this up.
Yeah, and I have to say you're absolutely spectacular. It's been wonderful to see you perform on stage. But speaking of the kids, and we,
Yeah.
we talked about how you kind of came into the business that your father had started. What's the plan now as far as the kids
Yeah.
and work?
Kids are, now look at the state of the company. I mean,
Hmm.
it's very transparent. I'm at 11%. Gens are at 16%. Widely held. Incredible institutions who've supported us in the past and now and in the future. I think it's difficult for kids to now just come in.
Hmm.
They're very passionate about everything because they've grown up in cinemas and watching movies. So with all the approvals of NRC, I've given them some small roles, and I've told them that, okay, let's create value.
Mm.
Okay, let's all forget about remuneration, forget about designations, roll up your sleeves. Can we create value? It
Mm.
could be anything. It could be an experience. It could be the F part, fun part, food part. Like Naina is looking at the fun part. Amir is looking at the innovation part. Neharika is looking at programming and re-releases. This was our own initiative. But there's no need to get a designation or a remuneration for which you have to go to the NRC or the board or the
Mm.
shareholders.
Mm.
Why have egg on your face? Why do all that? Why show that just because I have to, reconcile to the reality? That's what my stake is. At the same time, have other avenues where we can grow. which is beyond movies, beyond cinemas. Of course, my eldest is very keen on making films, Niharika. She was in Brahmastra, and she wants to be a director and producer.
Mm.
But that'll happen, on a personal front. I'll do something. I'm doing something for her.
Mm.
But other than that, we'll find they'll all, uh, you know, create whatever value they can for PVR. At the same time, look at other avenues, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, you said you did 7 movies, and then gave up on that. Is this going to be part of the third act?
Personal level, yes. Personal level, yes. Not in PVR. I think it's too volatile.
Hmm.
Exhibition, which is not supposed to be volatile, has become volatile. Why have unpredictability of that? So yes, I will not be involved at
Mm.
all, but I'll be happy to be a sounding board for my daughter. But I think there's too much there's a different hat that you have to wear
Yeah.
to be a producer, and different. I don't have that in me.
Now, I want to understand from you,
Yeah.
you brought up the fact that you've got now 11% shareholding, and I want to understand how you've come to terms with readjusting yourself to that reality. I mean, for a
Yeah.
company that was yours.
Yeah, well, as I said earlier, I've got these mentors and role models who always try to create a very large company and not really look at your own shareholding. So even with every acquisition, every private equity, I've had 7 rounds of private equity, public listing. I've always felt that shareholding is important, but creating a much larger enterprise is more important. But when I was going down 26%, which happened, I think pre-merger, I was thinking that should I be doing this or not. But again, there were some compelling reasons why I had to do that. So I think I went down to about 24% or something. But still, I was confident that if I'll be able to run the company. So this was a big step. I think if you ask me, the merger was probably the biggest decision for me to get diluted at this level. But then I think circumstances were such that it had to be done. But at the same time, I said, okay, again, I must prove myself that, that whether I'm sitting at 60% or whether I'm sitting at 11%, I need to do a good job. So just because you're sitting at a very high shareholding, you can tend to become complacent. You can do a lot of things that, like you spoke about kids as well. So many things can happen. You can get kids into the system. There's NRC, whatever. You've got voting rights. Large thing is with you. This is again test that can you do all those things which are required for governance reasons. And we have a very strong board now at 11% as well. I mean, that's a true test. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to say that even at this, if I can do a good job, then it's fine. Even at 60%, if I'm doing a bad job, then I don't need to be around. So I think that's where I am. It puts me on my toes with having this kind of and we have a very serious, very strong structure in terms of every single committee. So it's another test for me, and I'm enjoying
You have
that.
given many tests, including several singing tests as well. So you've been auditioning
Yeah,
a fair amount
yeah,
through life.
yeah,
What have all of these testing experiences taught you? I mean, what are your life lessons that you live by?
yeah. I mean, you just take it as it comes. I don't dwell too much into why this has happened, because the moment you start thinking about that, then you're gone. I say, okay, here's a new circumstance. How do we deal this in the best possible manner? So life lessons is just reconcile to where you are.
Acceptance.
Acceptance, very important. I mean, of course, I'm a human being. I'm frail, like so many of us are. I do sometimes look back and say, oh, I wish. Then and I'm very blessed to have Selena on my side, my mom on my side, my son, my kids, again my mentors and advisors, who just stopped me at that level. I said, listen, this is not you, forget it, it's done, let's move on. So therefore I say, okay, this is where we are. How do we make the most of where we are, and keep moving forward? Otherwise it's too depressing and it's counterproductive.
Yeah.
It's not gonna,
It weighs you down more
yeah,
than
weighs you
anything
down.
else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just need to make the most of it. And I'm fortunate with the Jains as well. They've been brilliant as partners. They've got other businesses that they're handling. They're doing a good job. Siddharth, Mr.
Yeah.
Jain, they've trusted in me, and they've given me a lot of leeway to run the company. And as I said, the checks and balances automatically are there, even if I do get leeway these days, the governance and
Yeah.
SEBI guidelines.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
So, the all-time favorite Ajay Bijli movie what would that be?
So many, so many.
Which
Um,
is the one that kind of changed your life or made you think about life in a certain way or a different way? I mean, movies also, that's what movies do. They inspire, they kind of move the compass
yeah.
emotionally as well. Has there been anything that's done that for you?
I find it a very tough question, this one, because every movie is different. But my in my corporate office, when we were redesigning it many years ago, all the boardrooms, we thought, I thought if I could name, I indulged myself according to my favorite movies. So Gladiator resonated with me. What you do in life echoes till eternity. I thought that was a powerful line. Invictus, I really enjoyed how Nelson Mandela uses football and that whole to unite everybody. Cliched, but Godfather always remains one of the ones there. Um, these are amongst the English movies, and even Hindi movies. A lot of Amir's movies I really thought were quite amazing. Rang De Basanti was amazing. Lagan, Against All Odds, what we did. So lots of movies are there which inspire me. But every movie, like every human being, you look at only the positive parts. You don't look at the negative parts. That's what I do. That's how I live my life. Just look at the positives. Don't get too much into, oh, this could have been done. Why did he say that? What is the right thing that he said? What is that I can learn from him? So that's what I do. So many movies have taught me a lot.
Well, that's great advice as well. What's on the Ajay Bijli playlist?
Oh wow. Listening to a lot of Billy Joel recently. I saw his a documentary on one of the Emirates flights. His Madison,
Yes.
Avenue, Madison Square
Square Garden,
Garden.
yes.
So I'm listening to that a lot. Very nostalgic. And of course, I was forced to listen to Brian Adams because I was doing
Doing the
the
show.
show. Another thing that I'm doing, I listen to Pink Floyd a lot. Suddenly, Wish You Were Here. I saw some cover that somebody had done. I don't know whether you've seen that cover.
No, I haven't.
Fantastic cover in an airport.
Okay.
And 7, 8 guitarists start singing this song. So I said, wow, that's a great song to go back to. And it's become part of my set list in my the performance that I will be doing soon. That's what I'm listening to.
Well, Ajay Bijli, we hope that you always continue to hit the right notes and continue to create magic in film, food, and fun.
Fun.
But thanks very much for your time,
Actually,
and we wish you the very best of luck. As
thanks.
always, appreciate you joining us here on the Young Turks podcast.
Thank you so much, Shereen. Thank
Well,
you.
with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of the Young Turks podcast. From all of us here on the team, for now, goodbye and many thanks for watching.